In all likeliness, Sucker Punch's Ghost of Tsushima is going to be the last major Sony exclusive to come out on the PS4, and based on everything we've seen of it so far, it looks like it's going to be an excellent send-off for that console. That said, there's still plenty we don't yet know about the game, and like everyone else, we've got a list of things that we really want to see in Ghost of Tsushima. So here, we'll be talking about some of our hopes and dreams for the title. The world. Over the last decade, developers and publishers have flooded the market with open-world games, and while many have stood out as some of the best experiences this generation has had to offer, many suffered from one common issue. They fail to utilize their large expanses properly, too often littering the map with meaningless, monotonous side activities that no one really wants to touch. Our hope for Ghost of Tsushima, then, is to see its open world densely packed with interesting things to see and do, and meaningful side quests with well-written narratives of their own. While that is admittedly something we can say for practically every single upcoming open world title, with Ghost of Tsushima, which looks like it's going to have a beautiful and diverse map to explore, that seems extra essential. Length. Length of games is something that a lot of people obsess over for understandable reasons. Ghost of Tsushima, being an open world game, probably won't lack for content, but we're hoping that Sucker Punch will be able to find that perfect sweet spot, so that the game feels neither too short nor too padded out. A runtime of about 30 to 40 hours for the main story would be the absolute perfect window for the game to land in. Progression. Sony's first-party titles tend to feature light RPG progression mechanics over the past few years, which have been implemented to varying degrees of success. While God of War's RPG elements felt tacked on, the likes of Horizon Zero Dawn and Marvel's Spider-Man implemented them far better to delivering engaging progression systems. And hopefully Ghost of Tsushima will fall into the latter category. Going through its story and feeling like you're constantly growing into a progressively more powerful and badass samurai feels like a necessity for this game. Weapons and items. This is something that ties into progression quite intricately. While getting more powerful and gaining new abilities is hopefully going to be a major part of the progression, we're hoping that a variety of weapons and items will also come into play. Unlocking new and different kinds of things that we can use for several purposes, whether that's combat or traversal, would add a ton of variety to the game, so that's exactly what we're hoping Ghost of Tsushima will let us do. We saw a hint of this in the trailer shown off at the Game Awards when Jin tosses a firecracker bomb, or whatever that's called, at an enemy. More of that, please, Sucker Punch. Stealth. Stealth is, of course, going to be a major pillar of Ghost of Tsushima's gameplay. You do play as a lone badass samurai going up against an insurmountable foe, after all. So it goes without saying that this is an aspect that the game absolutely needs to nail. The stealth mechanics need to be deep and polished, and everything from the AI to the tools players will have at their disposal needs to work perfectly. Cursory stealth mechanics in games that claim to be stealth-focused can be something of a disappointment, and I'm looking at you, Assassin's Creed. So hopefully Ghost of Tsushima will not fall into that trap. The setting and tone. One of the most exciting things about this game is, without a question, its setting, the beautiful island of Tsushima. And Sucker Punch needs to make sure that this is an excellent setting and does not go to waste, especially in terms of tone and atmosphere. Capturing the essence of this unique location and time period is an absolute must for this game. Thankfully, the trailers that we've seen so far give the impression that that's exactly what this game is going to do, so it definitely seems like Sucker Punch is headed in the right direction. No fantasy elements. This ties into our previous point, because having fantasy elements might end up working against the strengths of the game's atmosphere and tone. Ghost of Tsushima is, at the very least, a semi-historical game, and one of its most alluring elements is the promise of playing as a skilled samurai that strikes fear into the hearts of his enemies. Introducing fantasy elements into that grounded setting would most likely end up dampening the impact of that power fantasy. Now, we have nothing against fantasy, of course, and Sekiro's Shadows Die Twice proved that fantasy elements in a setting such as this one can work extremely well. Hopefully, though, Sucker Punch will try to distinguish their game and go for a more realistic and grounded take on this setting. No detective vision. Detective vision, or Witcher vision, or listen mode, or whatever they want to call it, has dominated games this generation. As a stealth-focused open-world game, there's a very real chance that Ghost of Tsushima might have that too, but Sucker Punch need to put their foot down and ensure that Ghost of Tsushima stays away from that. Detective vision is something that's hardly ever implemented well, mostly because games end up overusing it and relying on it as a crutch that sacrifices the quality of quest design. Most Sony games in recent years have also had a detective vision of some sort. Spider-Man, Days Gone, Horizon Zero Dawn, but hopefully Ghost of Tsushima will break that mold. Reputation system. Nothing we've seen of Ghost of Tsushima so far even remotely suggests that something like this will be in the game. But if you think about it, a reputation system would fit within the game's central premise perfectly. Jin is a lone samurai who's fighting a dangerous enemy from the shadows, and trailers give us the impression that as he does so, talk of the ghost starts spreading far and wide across the land. What if players could actually have a say in how far it spreads, or what its nature is? The more effective players are in dispatching Mongols and fighting against their armies, the more they accrue a reputation as someone to be feared. It would add a lot, not only to the gameplay, but to the story and character development of Jin as well. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from GamingBolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.